And I'd like to welcome Dr. John Hovannisian from Harvard Eye Associates. Always good to see you, my friend.
Always a pleasure to be here, Ken. Thanks.
We're going to talk about an interesting topic that people may not think of when it comes to your vision, and that's nutrition. But like the rest of your body, it plays a role, doesn't it?
What better time of year to talk about nutrition than this week, right? The week of the beginning of the holiday flood of foods, and not always the healthiest foods, right? Well, you know, it's not everybody thinks of it with regard to their eyes, but it is one of the most common questions we get from patients who come in to see us is, what should I be eating? What dietary factors can I modify to have better health for my eyes? How can, you know, do carrots really make me see better, right? The old wives' tale. As it turns out, carrots are not so bad for you. They're pretty darn good, actually. They contain an awful lot of the nutrients, the carotenoids and other micro and macronutrients that our body needs, besides being good for the rest of our body.
Right.
And as it turns out, really, you know, what's good for our eyes is what's good for our bodies as a whole. You know, our eye is part of a bigger system, and the cells of our nervous system are the same as the cells of our eye. They're connected, and although there are some specialized cells in the eye that have some unique nutritional demands, really it ties in very closely with everything else in our body. So you bet, eating, you know, I love the credo that don't eat too much, mostly vegetables, right?
Right.
Eat food, not too much, mostly vegetables. Those three rules are good to follow. So greens are great, and leafy greens, particularly darker, contain more of the antioxidants that our eyes need. And so, you know, kale, which is nice now because it's wildly popular.
Yes, very easy to get.
Right, but spinach and, you know, and boy, there's some wonderful tasting arugula and other you know, leafy products that you can get that are going to have all kinds of you know, zinc and selenium and lutein and zeaxanthin, which are micronutrients that our eyes particularly need. And you can get those from other foods as well, from nuts, and you can get them from supplements. We'll talk in a moment about supplements. But that's one very important element.
Yeah, and as you were saying, nowadays, I think over the last few years, some of those leafy greens years ago you couldn't even find. Now when you go to the store, there's 5 kinds of kale.
I love Mother's Market. I have no financial interest. I love Trader Joe's because they got about 50 different types of leafy greens you can pick from and find something that's going to suit your palate, right? And it's going to contain those nutrients you want. And then, of course, you know, meats and fishes are another great source of omega-3 fatty acids.
Right.
Not only for prevention of macular degeneration, for giving protection to cells, but also for dry eye. Many of our patients have dry eye issues. Their eyes don't feel comfortable. People often think, if my eyes don't feel right, I must have a problem. I'm heading toward macular degeneration. Those two aren't related. Unfortunately, you can't feel macular degeneration coming. It's in the back of the eye. If your eyes feel not right, it's often because they're dry. They're just not reacting to our Southern California dry environment.
Yeah, we forget the environment that
pretty dry here much of the time.
Exactly.
We've had some weird weather. Obviously, this week it's rained, but on the whole, we're in a desert-like environment where there's a lot of winds blowing. So omega-3s that are contained in lots of these foods that you see. So flaxseed, flaxseed's not up there, but you know, flaxseed and other legumes. You have lentils and other natural grains that you can take have a fair amount of omega-3s that can be very helpful, and of course fish, salmon being the chief supplier of omega-3s. And you know, we get asked the question, should I take supplements, and which supplement should I take? There are a million of them. It's overwhelming, isn't it, to go to any store that carries
That's what
these.
You see, and you know, the hard thing is, people are going, okay, this supplement for my eyes, but this one for this, and this one for, it gets to be very confusing.
It can be very confusing, and there are questions about which one is more pure, which one is better absorbed, you know, which one has the unique nutritional, fills the unique nutritional gaps that I have. You know, it turns out if you start with a good diet, if you eat a good-sized salad every day with leafy greens, if you have fish several times a week, and maybe take a little supplement of some omega-3s, which there are many different types, you're probably getting most of what you need. It's not bad maybe to take a multivitamin in case there's something else missing. But almost any of those products that provide those nutrients are going to fill that gap. But it really starts with what you eat, not with the supplements you take. If there's one thing I'd hope that viewers would take away from today, is that eat right, and you won't have an issue it won't matter as much what supplement you take.
What about if somebody has some sort of eye disease coming on? Are there things maybe they shouldn't eat, or just stick this to the same plan?
Well, a couple of rules for, so the two things that are the commonest are cataract and macular degeneration. For macular degeneration in particular, which is the real scary one, this on the screen is the most important two things. And that is, number one, don't ever smoke. And number two, wear your sunglasses when you're outside.
Okay.
The sunglasses are probably a little less influential because most of the damage that happens to our eyes probably happens throughout our younger years, and no amount of wearing sunglasses today is going to make up for damage that occurred back then. But it's still a good idea to have a decent pair. Actually, the Wayfarers that you see on the screen there, that design is usually not the best for protection, although they're kind of stylish. Something that has a wraparound design that fits close to the face, and something where the lens itself has good UV protection. So they don't need to look like clunky, boxy glasses. They can be stylish. Many of the most stylish sunglasses these days, like the bikers wear, have a wraparound design. So that gives good protection from the side, good protection from reflective surfaces. And they usually have decent lenses. You don't need to spend a fortune on sunglasses. It's just something that's, most plastic lenses have most of the UV absorbing capability that you need. And if you look, most of them nowadays are labeled to say that they're 100% UV protection.
Yeah, so as you said, the wraparounds, these look good, but...
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's an example, but it's maybe not the best technical example of sunglasses that you should wear.
Let's go on, although, we're kind of talking about nutrition here, but you mentioned, the environment which we live in, and I want to talk a little bit quickly about the drops that you can take. Again, you go to the Target, you go to wherever, and you'll see all these different drops and the brands that get the red out and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Sometimes people just want some sort of a lubricating drop. Their eyes are not any particular problem for a couple days. The environment, they're itchy, whatever it may be.
You bet. First of all, drops that are redness relievers. So you can read the label on an eye drop at the pharmacy, and there'll be a brand name, and then underneath it, in smaller print usually, it will say what class of medicine it is. So a lubricant eye drop, not really medicine, it's just a lubricant effect. A lubricant eye drop, that's safe. Any of the lubricant eye drops are probably perfectly okay to take. Now, among the lubricant class, there are preservative-free, which are usually a little more expensive, sometimes packaged a little differently. Those are good if you're going to take them a lot. If you're going to take them much more than 4 times a day, at least consider preservative-free. They may be gentler on your eyes. If you're going to take them just once in a while, any brand, preserved, non-preserved, is okay. But try different brands because they all have different chemistry. Some are thicker, the gel drops. Some are thinner. The thicker drops tend to last longer, but they may blur vision a little more. The thinner, the opposite. So you have to experiment a little bit. We generally recommend avoiding drops that say they are redness relievers. What those drops do is they contain chemicals that make the blood vessels shrink.
Okay.
But those chemicals wear off. And when they wear off, very often the blood vessels get bigger. And so the eyes end up more bloodshot. So how do you react to that? Put in more drops. And so you end up getting into a vicious cycle. And then the drops stop working as well, and the eyes end up more red in the end. So better not to use redness relievers, except maybe once in a rare while if you're going to be photographed or go on a date or something where you want to, or be on a TV show.
Of course, nowadays if you're photographed, they can just Photoshop it out. But
that's true.
What about the drops as far as expiration? Do they expire as well, like any other kind of medication?
Yeah, most products that are packaged sterile do have expiration dates. And so it's worthwhile to pay attention. If you're a few months out, off the record, it's probably perfectly safe to do. We don't tend to give away anything that's expired because it's technically it's expired.
Yeah.
But you don't always have to throw away medications that are expired. It can be expensive to replace them if they're just a once in a while use type of product.
Okay, yeah, because the reason I asked you that, I just the other day kind of went through the medicine cabinet, and I mean, just in general, we had stuff in there. I'm not kidding. We had infant drops and infant something or other when, you know, my daughter's 10 now. Yeah, but we did have, I'm not kidding, we did.
No.
But we had some eye drops in there, which I think I kept, and they are, I don't know, actually one was maybe expired like 6 months ago, and the other one still, it expires next year. So I thought, okay.
Many of those are going to be okay in a pinch if you need them. If it's late at night and you don't want to run to the pharmacy, it's unlikely you're going to harm yourself with something that's a few months out of expiration.
Okay.
And many of those products, the FDA requires an expiration date, but
sure,
there may be no real expectation that the preservatives are going to lose their effect, or you know, some products probably have an almost indefinite lifespan. You don't always know which those are. And
exactly.
You know, one thing I'll recommend to everybody, if you're ever going to take any type of eye drop, watch a video on how to do it the right way.
Right.
If you go to YouTube and look up my last name, Hovhannissian, or Harvard Eye, how to take eye drops, we have a nice 3-minute video that shows you how to do it. And some of the best feedback I get from patients is, man, I wish I'd watched that video years ago because I didn't know how wrong I was doing it. So that's something that learning the right way to take drops. Maybe we can do a segment on that sometime. Talk about that specifically. It's a pretty easy topic, but there's a big difference between doing it right and doing it wrong.
All right. Well, you have a great Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving to you too.
And I'm not going to tell you to eat well for Thanksgiving. I'm going to tell you to have your Thanksgiving feast, and don't worry about it on that
One day a
right?
year won't make a big difference, but yeah, take care of your body. It's where you have to live the rest of your life.
Exactly. Always good to see you.
Pleasure.
Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
And we will be right back.